And so, yeah, it's a hallelujah. And so what we are doing is what I say time and time again. We are doing a 30-year checkup. All of those who said that if we got more lawyers, less people would go to prison. Well, in 1996, with more black lawyers than ever before in the history of America, 1.6 million are locked up in the prisons, and 80% of them are African Americans. Most of you don't realize that for the first time in the history of America, in the state of California, more black women are in jail than white men. Something is wrong, I say. When we look now, Time magazine just talked about more than 50% of all people in America are plagued with chronic illnesses such as diabetes, arthritis, and ulcers. And 70% of that we know are African Americans. I said to the doctors who said that if they would just go to medical school, they would be able to help us. I said they are part of the problem and not part of the solution. I said we need to look at this. When I look and check to see economically, when we keep talking about African Americans handle $435 billion a year, you better not take a ride down 35th, 47th, 39th, 51st, 55th, 63rd, 71st, 75th, 79th. I want you to show me what part of those $1 billion that we keep talking about that African Americans are handling. I want us to look at this. We're being duped. We're being duped. I want us to talk about that politics is the key to what we're doing. Well, in the House of Representatives, there are 435 members. 36 of them are African American. I want you to tell me in a majority rule, is 36 bigger than 395? I want you to tell me there was a black mayor in Gary, Indiana. There was a black mayor in Newark, New Jersey. There was a black mayor in Los Angeles. I want you to tell me, what did those black mayors do for the black people when they were ruling those cities? I want us to look now and see if it's better in the hood. I see every door with bars on it. I see every window with gates up to it. I see old women can't walk the street. I see young children can't go to school. I see black men are not in the households. I see black women raising children without men. I want you to tell me, are we better off today than we were 30 years ago? Then we cannot let somebody give us the same seeds that was given to us 30 years ago. As we approach the 21st century, they predicted by the year 2000 that 70% of all black men would either be dead, in jail, on drugs, or unemployed. I'm saying we cannot let that prophecy fulfill itself. And the only visionary that I know on the scene that has provided an alternative is that one that is rooted in the foundation of God and truth. And so I don't have to sell our speaker to nobody. Because all I want you to do, just like those who up here came to see for themselves, no, it hasn't been an easy struggle. There were many of those who were in this fight that fell on the battlefield. That didn't mean that they was wrong. That meant that it's a tough battle and everybody can't fight all the time. And in every war there are some wounded, and yes, there are some dead. Yes, the kingdom of God has had casualties. Yes, somebody went to Israel and somebody returned back to America. But remember, when they went to Vietnam, it was 50,000 came back dead and 500,000 came back wounded. Don't forget, they just come back out of Iraq and thousands have come back sick and diseased. So you're going to tell me those who go into hell for a heavenly cause that we're not going to be confronted with evil? Evil has power, but its power is not stronger than the God of Israel. We know Just like Brother Corpue said, Frederick Douglass didn't just stop there. He said you got to agitate and agitate. He said you may not get everything you pay for, but you got to pay for everything that you get. I want to bring on one who has paid that price. I've been asking this question across the country. After 25 years, we had some medical doctors come up, and we told them to assess the lives of the saints that were born in Israel. Not one case of venereal disease for those following the laws of the God of Israel. Not one heart attack. Not one case of a stabbing or a shooting. No locks on the doors. I've been asking across the country, what do you say to a man that have achieved that? You don't say nothing. You listen. I present to you Ammi ben Israel, anointed spiritual leader, kingdom of God on earth.
First, I would like to give all honor, praises, and thanks to the God of our fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. The God that remembered the covenant that he made with our fathers and did not leave us in the lands of the captivity, but has delivered us out of the lands of the captivity, and has allowed us in our generations once again to tread upon that great and holy land of ours. I greet you in peace. All the elders of the congregation, eternal peace, eternal thanks, eternal gratitude unto you that have had to hold up this banner, waiting for those like myself, Howard, and many others to understand that now it's our generation. Just like you had to face your generations, we must accept the responsibilities of ours. I pray that the Holy One of Israel will open the eyes of the elders and bless them, that they may experience eternal life on this path. And unto all of those on the dais, my inspiration, my mentors, those that continue to give me insight into the things that are relevant in our freedom struggle. And unto all of you that have taken the time out of your schedules to come and to share these precious moments with me, I'm thankful and I'm grateful. When I began this particular sojourn, I wanted to emphasize to our people all across America that our freedom struggle would have to be reborn. There would have to be a new birth to our freedom struggle. And Brother Howard Saffold today said something that held the key to that victory. You are watching today, those of you that are privileged to be here today, you are bearing witness to the words that were spoken at the beginning of this sojourn. You are bearing witness to their fulfillment at the end of this particular sojourn in the Americas. Those on this dais today are bearing witness that our freedom struggle has been born again. Our freedom struggle has been born again, and we are en route to the victory by the words that Howard Saffold spoke. He said he put down the gun and he picked up the Bible. That touched me, God. Because he said there was a time he did not feel that he could win. He had to be strapped down with his revolver. But the adversary prefers that you continue to fight him in a manner that assures his victory. But to hear this brother, the gun, and picked up the Bible, to hear those like Queen Mother Helen Sinclair say that she has been inspired. Against all odds, we can see that this freedom struggle has been reborn. And the difference this time is that God is going to be at the center of this struggle. God is going to be at the center of the struggle, and we are going to define the victory. You see, one of the reasons why I said that the freedom struggle has to be born again is because we had reached a point in this struggle wherein no one really knew what they were struggling for anymore. No one was defining for you the victory. I posed this question to some of the members of some of the youth organizations. What defines the victory for us as a people? I posed this question to your leaders. What defines the victory for us as a people? No one could tell me. No one could tell me, and I concluded that's part of the problem. Many of you sitting out here now, you really don't know. You're just grabbing a thing. You demonstrate here, you go here, you complain about that, but you don't have any idea what defines the victory. What is it that we want? You really don't know, but we're not going to leave you in doubt during this season. We're going to define the victory for you. Because an individual that does not know when he is winning, that individual does not know when he's losing. If you don't know the victory, you may be losing. And this is why that we've got to define the victory so that everyone will know and be able to gauge our movement to determine if we are winning. God will be at the center of our struggle. For the last 3 years, when all across America, listening to the leaders, middle class, upper middle class, those with jobs, no jobs, and we went to the meetings, and I posed the question, I said, now, let us deal with the God issue. And somebody raised their hand and said, Brother Ben, that's too sensitive because we all got these different beliefs. We better put that on the back burner. And they tried to convince me and themselves that we could separate sociology from theology. So they deceived themselves, giving the impression that they are not coming back to the table with decisions based upon their theological beliefs. Everybody is telling us to put God on the back burner, but everybody is coming back with decisions based upon the God that they're believing in. Can you separate theology from sociology? Can you separate methodology from spirituality? No way. So once we understand that you can't separate methodology from spirituality, you can't separate sociology from theology, then we stop deceiving ourselves by giving the impression that we have put that issue on the back burner. That issue is making the decisions for us. And if we don't deal with that issue, your freedom struggle has been born again. Right here on this dais, right in this season, you're bearing witness to it. Because the God issue can't be put on the back burner anymore. We're going to put it at the center of the table. Because we continue to discuss the jobs that you work on. We continue to discuss the neighborhoods and the housing situation. We continue to discuss the race issue. But I never get a chance to discuss the moral issue. I want to know what you're talking about, what you're wearing, what you're eating, the God you're worshiping, and how you're worshiping Him. We've got to deal with this issue. How can we circumvent the issue of the God that we say that we need to help us win the victory? We find in the scriptures it says, and the devil has disguised himself as an angel of light. The reason why I continue to remind your leaders that we've got to put the God issue at the center of the table, no matter how sensitive that it is, no matter what your faith, no matter what your belief, we've got to look into it and investigate it. What your faith and your belief may be wrong. We've got to deal with it. I can't leave it alone anymore. Everything is at stake now. So then we find, says the devil has disguised himself as an angel of light. And if he has disguised himself as an angel of light, that means that the devil today, he doesn't come talking and preaching devil. The devil today is talking about God. He has disguised himself as an angel of light. He's not talking about the devil. The devil is sitting somewhere today in your meetings talking about God. And until we deal with that issue, we can't find him. It's the devil that don't want us to discuss the God issue. Because if we discuss the God issue, we gonna find him. He's disguised today. He's not telling anyone that he's about the devil. He's telling the people that he's about God. And every time I say we've got to discuss the God issue, the devil says, no, don't discuss that. Because if we discuss that, we're going to find him. Because he has disguised himself as God. Freedom struggle. Oh no. All of those meetings now, coming back from the back burner to the front burner. Tell me about your morality. Well, to me, I don't feel that we should impose your way of life upon me and your way of life. But in the beginning, God imposed his way of life upon everybody. So then we find that, well, what do you feel about perversion? What do you feel about freedom of lesbians and homosexuals to express themselves? Well, I don't feel that we ought to deal with, there he is. There he is. See, we gotta let them know. Stay out of our meetings, devil. Because they all got us in the meetings, we can't say nothing about nothing anymore. Lesbians leading us, homosexuals leading us, perversions leading us. And if we say something about it, they tell us we got homophobia. No, we got a taste of God in our veins. Come to the meeting dressed anyway. Talk about anything. No, we're going to find him now. Because our problems, except that we succeed in invoking God into our struggle on our side, there's no practical way out of this. So how will we know from today if we're winning or if we are losing? I define winning as getting closer unto God. You're going to know now. Now you can look out. Tell me, we as a people today, are we getting closer or farther away from God? We're losing then. You're losing. Because when you start to win, you will start on a path that will bring you closer and closer unto God. Everybody's going to know if we're winning from now on. Because they'll be able to measure it by our closeness with the Creator. You can't be getting farther away from God and somebody convincing you that you're winning. That individual is the devil. Now we're going to know. Because in the ultimate victory, once again, the most holy God of Israel will be the King of kings. And there will be a government of men and women that are governed by him. All of these things, brothers and sisters, things change today. I heard some things today by those sitting here on the dais that touched the depths of my soul. But Brother Sappho summed it up. They're concerned now. If we put down the gun and pick up the Bible, we're going to win this struggle. Definitely we're going to, no doubt about it. I can't give you the day or the hour, but I can give you the absolute conclusion of this confrontation. We're going to win. No doubt about it. Brothers, sisters, now, many of them we can understand already. We begin to sanctify our meetings because many are not going to come to the meetings now. Because we're no longer going to allow them to convince us to put the issue of God on the back burner. No. It's too critical. That's how we're going to find those individuals that have been making the decision to influence our struggle under the guise, disguised as God. My subject today has to do with history and destiny. I remind you again, each and every one of you, that there are only two forces on this planet vying for the souls of men, your souls. Only two. I want to make this so simple until a fool could not err. Not three, not four. God and Satan. That means in all that you do, there are two perceptions. Two perceptions. One of God, one of Satan. Only two. You don't have to deal with no big complicated numbers. Two forces on this planet are vying. In everything that you do, there are two perceptions. Two perceptions. Not three, four, five, two perceptions of everything that you do. A perception under the influence of God and a perception under the influence of the devil. There is no such thing as an agnostic that does not believe in God, that does not worship the devil. No controversy. Every individual that comes up to you and says they don't believe in God, they worship the devil. No controversy. You can't worship God and the devil simultaneously. No. Will make you make a decision. No way to worship both of them. No man can serve two masters. If you love God, gotta let the other one go. Got to let him go. You've got to change. You've got to change. And sometimes when you hear us talking about change, you kind of get a little nervous. Change. But change isn't anything that you're not familiar with. You've been changing since the mid-60s. You're changing. You're wearing different clothes. You're talking. Your morals are different today. The things that you allow your children to do today are different from what you allowed them to do in the mid-60s. Things are changing. You're familiar with change. The neighborhoods are different. Things are changing. But my only question is that, is your change drawing you nigh, closer or farther unto the Creator? So you are changing, but your changes are drawing you farther and farther away from God. So I'm simply still talking about change that you are familiar with, but a change that will draw you closer unto God. Change isn't anything new to you. You're wearing different styles today, sisters. You're wearing different styles, brothers. But are your styles holy? That's my only question. I'm talking about change. But I'm simply talking about change that will draw you closer and closer unto God. You're buying different clothes today. I'm simply saying buy clothes that will find the approval of the Creator. Got to change. Got to change. Two forces. And I do pray that all of you receive this little sheet. This is for you. You may take this home with you. Your own personal perusal. I'm going to have someone to read for me that first definition. The first definition. Please follow along. I want to take my time because you've got to understand the relevance of this subject today. History and destiny.
The first definition.
Please.
Educate.
Educate.
Number one, to develop a mind.
Now remember, two forces, God and Satan, to develop a mind. That means there are two kinds of minds being developed. One mind that will be pro-God and one mind that will be anti-God. Two minds are being developed. Only two. The devil has to develop a mind in the people that will cause them to walk contrary to God. Two minds to educate, to develop a mind. The devil can only develop a mind that will walk contrary to the Creator. Look at this world today. Two perceptions of higher education. Now, I simply reason that higher education under the influence of God, doesn't it make sense that God would have to be at the center of that education? Now, does that make sense to you? Do you feel that God is going to condone? Do you feel that God is going to put his seal of approval on a higher education and he's not at the center of it? No way. Not logical, is it? So that means that it would be utterly impossible for you to achieve higher education in harmony with God in a secular institution. It would be utterly impossible to achieve true higher education under the influence of God in a secular institution, in an institution that does not have God at the center of all of the subjects. Two perceptions of higher education. Two perceptions of higher education. Two minds. And then when you come through a secular institution, you have been prepared. Next definition. We have moved down to preparatory.
Preparatory. Preparing or serving to prepare for something.
Education is to prepare you for something, isn't it? So if there are two forms of education, one is preparing you to worship God, and one would be preparing you to be anti-God. Two institutions preparing you to fit into this world. If you then understand that education is preparing you to accept or to be anti-God, look at this world today. Is this an anti-God civilization today?
Absolutely.
How did they become an anti-God civilization? To accept the great majority of you sitting here in this audience. At one time or another, you have endorsed a constitution that allows freedom of worship of the devil. In the prison system today, do they have freedom to worship the devil? In the prison. The prisoners today. Now you tell me, do you feel in a pro-God world that you're going to have the freedom to worship the devil?
No way.
Now, if there is a constitution that allows the freedom of worship of the devil, is it of God or is it of the devil?
Of the devil.
You got to hear me. Got to be satanic. Would any of you in here draw up a constitution in the name of God and put one of the clauses in it that we're going to allow the people to worship the devil? No way. You got to understand this is serious. The reality of this redemptive struggle, the reality of this deception. Would you please turn Revelation 12 chapter verses 9 and 10, please. History and destiny. In the course of my dissertation, for my historical reference, I'm going to be using the Bible. I'm going to be using the Bible for my historical reference. It's something about you as a people. What is it about the African born in America that no one seems to know your history? When you arrive to the shores of Africa, it dissipates and you just become an African. No country of origin, no language that your father spoke, no culture. Who is it? What is it about you that on all of this earth, all people have a history leading back to a land, but when it comes to you, nobody seems to know who you are. Not logical. Couldn't be. They can go back and dig up a bone. As a matter of fact, I would like to ask the reader would hold his place there. Read, please.
Washington Post, Tuesday, November the 19th, 1996. The caption: Bone links early human ancestors to jaw parts found in Ethiopia.
Jaw parts found in Ethiopia.
Near stone artifacts, mammal remains. An international team of fossil hunters unearthed a 2.33 million year old.
How old?
2.33 million year old.
They've got a jaw, a bone. And they have determined that it is 2.33 years old. They can scrape some substance off of a tooth and tell you what that individual ate for his last meal. But I have 400 years of continuous history in the Americas and don't nobody know who I am. I say it's a lie and a conspiracy. Now they're using genetics. A small group of humans left Africa, the cradle of their evolution, and went forth to populate Asia, Europe, and Americas about 100,000 years ago. This is out of Science. DNA points to African origins of the human family. Scientists who study genetic patterns in worldwide groups. This pattern of variation suggests that all non-Africans derive from a single common ancestral population which migrated out of northeast Africa, said Tishko. Now they're using the genes to determine. But we got genes. I mean, there's nothing they can scrape off of us to tell where we have originated from. How is it that after 400 consecutive years on these shores, nobody knows who the African born in America is? Nobody knows your history. When you get back to Africa, shores, you just become an African. Africa is a continent. Why are we? What is it about our history? Why is it that no one wants to deal with our history to the extent that you do not understand the essentiality of history? When I was a child, I used to always hear them say that the essentials of education is reading, writing, and arithmetic. I want to change that slightly to reading, writing, and understanding history. History holds the key, more critical than mathematics. Reading, writing, and understanding history. A people without the knowledge of their history, they are like a tree without roots. A people without the knowledge of their history, a tree without roots. Is it alive or dead? A tree without roots is dead. A people without the knowledge of their history, they are the walking dead. Any individual that is placed in an unfamiliar situation and he can't find his way out, that individual is classified as helpless. No matter what his educational background or physical makeup, when you can't find your way, you are helpless. That's why you are a prey to every other ethnic group. You can't even bring your own food into the neighborhood. You are a prey because they all see you as being helpless. Now, history. Why is it no one wants to discuss your history? Who are you? I mean, you're such a people, you have such a history just on these shores that whenever or wherever you find your history, you're going to know it's your history because no one has a history like you. No other people on this planet have an experience like unto your experience. If you find your history, you're going to know it's your history and no one else's. History. Now, using the Bible as my historical reference, some of you may have a problem with that. It said the Bible. That you may not feel comfortable with me using the Bible as an authentic historical reference. But then let us check and see how the nations feel about the Bible as an authentic source of history. If I may go back to November the 29th, 1947, the nations of the world, they told you, don't go back there and read in the history of a people in what is called today erroneously the Old Testament. But let us see if the nations believe that. November the 29th, 1947. All of you historians bear witness. An historical precedent was established when the Bible was used as an accurate historical reference in the formulation of international foreign policy. It was on that day that the United Nations passed a resolution to establish the modern state of Israel as a homeland for the Jewish people. What was it based upon? What was the historical reference that they used to determine that? They went back to the Bible. The nations of the world used the Bible to establish the historical link. I'm not dealing with the authentication. I'm only showing you that they faked you out. They faked you out. You would tell you, they have you thinking that, well, they don't really give the Bible that kind of credit because, it's not really authentic like that. But the United Nations, using the Bible as an authentic source for historical reference, used the Bible to determine and to pass that resolution. So I'm simply going to follow in the footsteps of the United Nations because I simply feel that some parts and some portions maybe they didn't read, and I want to refer to those portions today. Okay. So then are you clear that I am authorized? They have authorized me to use the Bible. They used it, didn't they? What was the most significant historical reference that they referred to in establishing the modern state of Israel? The Bible. Say it again.
The Bible.
The Bible. And they keep telling you, well, no, that's not really nothing for you to be referring to like that. They use the Bible. So then I'm comfortable. I'm going to use the Bible too. If they could go to the Bible to find the history of a people, I went back to see if maybe the Bible could find or help me find the history of another people that don't know their history. I'm going to go to the definition of destiny. Why? Why is your history so different and so crucial? What is it about you? Why is your history so different and so crucial? That's a pretty good question. Why is it? Let me answer it for you. Your history is crucial because your history has been determining your destiny. Not only your destiny, your history determines the destiny of this civilization, all tied into your history. Your history has been determining your destiny. And your history has been determining the destiny of this world, this civilization. All connected with your history. That's why they don't want you to know your history. And until you know your history, you got to continue to meet a destiny preferred for you by another people. Now, I may refer to some of the tenets of some of your faith, but not with malice, but just that I must use this for historical reference. That we're talking about history. And again, I want to say this on record. I'm going to refer to the tenets of some of your faith, but not with malice, but just to make you understand and see some differences. Now, if we take the Quran, what is the difference in the Bible and the Quran? I read the Quran, I study the Quran, I refer to the Quran, and many Muslims, certainly as you know, refer to the Bible. But what is the chief difference? The major difference in the Quran and the Bible? Allow me to assist you. The Quran connects you with the identity, with the tenets of a religion. The Quran connects you with the tenets, with the history of a religion. The Bible connects you with the history of a people. You got to hear me now. The Quran connects you with the history of a religion. The Bible is different. The Bible connects you with the history of a people. It's different. They have no objections to you following whatever you may follow, as long as it does not expose you to the revelation of your history. It doesn't matter what faith you have. It doesn't matter what religion you practice. What does matter? They're only watching to be certain that it does not expose you to the revelations of your history. Doesn't matter. Even if you go into the Bible, I'm going to take my things about our own tenets. Being Hebrew Americans. Hebrew Americans. New word. Hebrew American. Because Hebrew identifies me with a country. And Hebrew. Now, it does not matter if you practice Judaism. It does not matter. They will teach you Judaism. Judaism is an offspring of the own tenets of our beliefs. But it does not matter. But things have changed. It does not matter if you learn the tenets of Judaism. It does not matter because simply the key question is, does it give them the revelation of their history? If it does not expose them to the revelation of their history, they don't care what you expose to, what your religious faith is. It does not matter. Your history, something about your history. Now, it doesn't seem possible. Now, you got to hear what I was saying. I said, why is your history so different and so crucial in this redemptive struggle? Your history has been determining your destiny. And your history is tied to the destiny of this civilization, all tied into your history. Destiny. Would you please read the definition of destiny, please?
Destiny reads on this
Destiny,
slide.
please follow along. All of you that do not have sheets, if you raise your hand, someone can certainly come around and to share one with you. Destiny. Read, please.
A predetermined course of events, often held to be a resistless power or station.
Destiny. A predetermined course of events. All of you, we got so many educators out here today, but I didn't want to leave no room for no mistake. I even got the definition of pre here for you. Man. I want to make it so simple as that a predetermined course of events, that something happened prior to determine something that happened after. That when you arrived here, possibly it was a predetermined course of events that were unfolding. Predetermined course of events. Maybe these 400 years of hell, maybe they were predetermined by something that took place in our history. You got to hear me today. Predetermined. Definition of pre, please.
Pre.
Pre.
Earlier than.
Earlier than.
Prior to.
Prior to.
Before.
Before. Earlier than. Prior to. Before. Sounds to me like history. What is history? Isn't it prior to, earlier than, before?
That's right.
Isn't that history?
That's right.
So then, could we change that pre? We're going to ease the pre off and say a historically determined course of events. Got to hear me today. Did you read that definition of pre again?
Reading once again the definition for pre.
Pre.
Earlier than.
What is history? Things that happen earlier than.
Prior to.
Earlier. Things that happen prior to.
Before.
Things that happen before. Pre. Pre then is history. So if we remove the pre from predetermined and add historic, then how would it read if we just add a historically determined course of events? Destiny is being determined by something that happened in your history. Maybe that's why they've cut you off from your history. For if you don't know the cause, you don't know the cure. When you can't find your way, you are helpless. The African in America today, all the ethnic groups come into your community, they see you as a prey, a helpless prey, waiting to be consumed. Helpless. Why? For they are using metaphorical knowledge against you, knowing that until you can find your way, you will eternally be a prey. You know what the problems are in the neighborhood? Why the brothers like WL are having problems in the neighborhood is simply because you're not disciplined. It's not that we can't build the stores. You won't shop in them.
Why? You are out. You can't find your way. You are lost. You don't know that that store is a pathway to your economic liberation. It's not that we can't build hotels. You won't come and stay in them. Why? Because you can't find your way. You are lost. Lost. We could build 43rd Street. The monies are available, but you would go to 95th Street to shop. So you wonder, why is 43rd Street like that? If we build it, who's going to shop there? That wouldn't be a good investment. You're not going to shop on 43rd Street because you are helpless. Lost. You can't find your way. You don't know the way, and you won't let your leaders guide you to economic development, economic independence. There is a path that you must follow. You don't see that and understand that. A predetermined. So now, did you follow me how we just used that little play on word? Not so much of a play even. About destiny. Destiny. A historically determined course of events. Something that took place in your history has been determining your destiny. And until you go back and find out what it is, you must continue to meet this evil destiny. This civilization remains in power as a result of you not being able to lift up your head to replace it. It is tied into your destiny. They must stay in power until you turn around. No way that he can come down until you make your move. So subsequently, if they understand that, and they do, then they would simply have a plan to keep you what? Walking contrary, not knowing, keeping you from being exposed to the revelation of your history. That's why they cut you off from your history, because your history has been your destiny. The future, I recall I used to hear, for some reason, the elders used to say, I used to hear them say quite often that, well, boy, you can't change your past. Ain't no need from back there, I don't know where they got that from, but I used to hear, but what is it that they were trying to say to us about our past? I mean, if that was the case, why you need to keep telling me? I can't change my past. You don't need to tell me then that. But what is it about the past? Was that statement true to form? It's almost like the statement that we hear quite often, that our future depends upon the children. We understand the procreation, but you see, you start quoting those things without thinking about their relevance. You see that little child you got over there, your future don't depend on him. His future depends on you. You got to understand that. That's what happened to the children. Somebody convinced you to leave them alone because your future depended upon them. We understand the procreation, but don't you know that the children's future depend upon you? If you don't make the right decision today, tell me what that child is going to do. Tell me what this 4 or 5-year-old is going to do on this planet. Tell me what these little children are going to do. Your future, their future depends upon you. So, our past. But what is it about our past? What were they trying to say? Something about our past that held the key. Said you can't change your past, but you can change your past. Metaphor. You see, it is your past that has been determining your future. So then, now, when Yeshua, it has been said in many different ways, but when Nicodemus came to Yeshua and he said that you've got to be, Yeshua said unto Nicodemus, you've got to be born again. What did he mean? He listened to Nicodemus and he finally concluded that Nicodemus would have to be born again. Simply what? Nicodemus would have to cut himself off from his past. He would have to have a new If you're born again, it's a new what? A new beginning. And if it's a new beginning, you're starting to create a new past. If it's a new beginning, the old past ends. How does it end? It ends because the past has been determining your future. And until you change that past, you can't change your future. That's what they were trying to say to you. Not that you can't change your past, that you must change your past. Your past has been dictating your present and your future. You've got to change your past. Because your past has been dictating your future. Got to be born again to start a new past. Destiny. A predetermined course of events. History. Read, please.
Definition of history. Number 1, the branch of knowledge dealing with past events.
The branch of knowledge dealing with past events. But now the second definition.
Number 2, acts, ideas, or events that or can shape the course
or can shape what?
The course of the future.
You listen to history again. Something that can shape the course of the future. Some event, some act. If you turn around and turn back unto God, you can change history. If there is an act, something, an event that can take place that could be a historical event. Got to turn back. Got to turn around. Got to turn back to the Creator. Got to go back now. Now I'm going to go to this book that the United Nations used. I'm going to go to this book that the United Nations used, to the book of Genesis, 15th chapter, verses 12 and 14. Now I want you to follow me here, because we're in search of your history, and when we find it, you're going to know it is your history. Genesis, 15th chapter, verses 12 and 14. Read, please.
Reading from the book of Genesis, 15th chapter, starting at the 12th verse. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him.
And horror of great darkness fell upon Abram.
And also that nation.
12 through 14. 12 through 14. Pay attention.
Going back to the 13th verse. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety, that thy seed,
the seed of Abraham,
shall be a sojourner in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them,
and they shall serve them,
and they shall afflict them,
the seed of Abraham,
400 years.
400 years.
I thought I heard that somebody come and say we've been here about 400 years.
The seed of Abraham. Now what I've got to do now is that the audience, some of you to help me now. How long have we been in this land? Approximately. I'm not expecting exact dates. Approximately 400 years. So because somebody make a note of these things now as we go to these scriptural references. How did we come here? Did we come here by plane? Canoe. We came on ships. We're making a note of this now. We came here on ships.
That's right.
Then were we the captain of the ships? I mean, just bringing cargo on ships, huh? We were the captives. Now on the ships, we were in the pits. That pit, now wherever, you may not know the definition of a pit, but you know it ain't up high, don't you? You know if it's in the pit, it's down low. So we were on ships, down in the pits. We weren't up on deck. We weren't the captains. We were the cargo. We were the captains. I mean that. Anything else about the slaves? Say it again. In chains, shackles and chains. In chains and shackles on ships. We've been here approximately 400 years. I just need a little reference. Now I want to continue on, please. Thank you. I would like to go to the book of Deuteronomy. One other thing, when we arrived here, did they just let us go and say, hey, go do what you want to do? What did they do after we arrived here?
Say it,
say it again.
That's right.
They afflicted us. What did they do on them? I mean, was it any sales or auctions or anything like that? Were we sold? Did they bargain for our souls? And used us. And abused. Okay, now, we've got all of these things for reference because now we got to go and see can we find any of this in history. I'm just I'm scraping a little bit off of you. This is the genetic test. And I'm getting a little information from you and I'm going to put it into this biblical computer and see what we come up with. History, destiny is being determined by history. Now, Deuteronomy. No, hold your place there. Hold that place. We go to the book of Psalms, the 83rd chapter. Psalms, the 83rd chapter. 83rd chapter, verses 1 through 5. Now, when they picked us up at that time by what was called the New World, was there an international conspiracy? Did they all work together? There was an international conspiracy. The Spanish, the Portuguese, the British, the Americans, all of them that were a part of that new world took part in it. Psalms 83rd chapter, verses 1 through 5.
Please on this one.
Please.
Keep not thou silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God. Read.
Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
So now he said, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their heads. The anti-God civilization has lifted up his head. Continue on.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Against whose people?
Against thy people.
They've taken crafty counsel. They came together in boardrooms. They took, he said, crafty counsel. Against whose people?
People of God.
Those nations, those anti-God forces took crafty counsel against the people of God. What did they say?
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Mm-hmm.
They have said.
What did they say?
Come. And let us cut them off from being.
Cut the people of God off.
Let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Let us cut them off from being a nation, that the history of Israel would no more be in remembrance. That's why they cut it off. Your history is gone from you. They took crafty counsel against you. Come now. He said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Cut them off from being a nation, a people, a nation. What nation are you connected up to? Not what continent, what nation? None. They've cut you off from being a nation. Is that historical fact? They haven't cut the British off. They haven't cut the French off. They haven't cut the Iranians off. They haven't cut the Asmanians off. They haven't cut the Germans off. They haven't cut the Irish off. You have been cut off from being a nation, that the name that your history would no more be in remembrance. Is that all 5 of those verses? Read, please.
For they have consulted together.
For they what?
Have consulted together.
They strategized. They strategized. They consulted together. I pose the question to our people, why is it that none of the nations of Europe have ever come to our rescue in the Americas? Why is it our struggle has been just? Why is it that nobody comes to help us? Read it again.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
With what?
With one consent.
One consent. One consent. Where you are concerned, they're always in agreement. Cut him off. Don't let him find his history, because your history is connected with their destiny. Your history is connected with their destiny. In order to prolong their civilization, they must keep you from finding the historical facts about yourself. Your history. Now we find this took place. Abraham's seed, 400 years. Now Deuteronomy. th chapter, verses 64 through 68. I have that to skip over a couple of these, but those are your references. Take them home with you and you read all of them. All of them. 64 through 68. Read, please.
Read on this one. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
And the Lord, who shall scatter thee?
The Lord.
And the Lord shall scatter thee, his people. You wonder why the Democrats can't free you? The Republicans can't free you? The liberals of the communists of Maoism can't free you? Because they do not hold the keys to the prison that you are locked in. God scattered you. The problem was not with the Democrats or the Republicans. The problem is, what did you do? What happened? Destiny. Because you're going to have to ask some questions now. God scattered you. Read on.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
Among all the people.
From the one end of the earth, even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods.
And there thou shalt what?
Serve other gods.
And there thou shalt serve other gods. Other gods. But you won't know it. Because deception is to cause to believe what is false and invalid to be what? True and valid. You're going to serve other gods and not know it. Continue on.
And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations
shalt
thou find no ease.
400 years, you still a jelly bean. 400 years, executives in Texaco, and you act like, when has it changed? What is giving you the impression that it's going to change? You right here, Cicero is still there. What have they done to give you the impression? Oh no, you still a jelly bean. Continue on.
Thou shalt find no ease.
No ease.
Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
You remember your mothers and your grandmothers? They came and they left. They were weary. This land has wearied us. We're tired of it. That's what Corey was saying. Enough is enough. We're tired of this. We're tired of being jelly beans. Enough is enough. 400 years we've been waiting. We've got to find the keys to open up this door. We've got to let the captives go free. Continue on.
But the Lord shall give thee there trembling heart.
A trembling heart. Continue on.
And failing of eyes. And sorrow of mind.
And sorrow of mind. Mm-hmm.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee.
Los Angeles, Florida. I mean, this is right now. Your life hangs in doubt before you. Continue on.
And thou shalt fear day and night.
Day and night. Continue on.
And shall have no assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, with God it were evening.
In the morning you say, I wish it was evening. Read a little bit.
And at evening thou shalt say, with God I wish it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee.
And the who again?
And the Lord shall bring thee.
And the Lord shall bring thee
into Egypt.
Egypt.
Again with ships.
Again. Egypt again. Moses went down to Egypt, but Egypt was what? This is talking about a captivity similar to the ancient Egyptian captivity. The people of God were going to find themselves in a similar captivity, just like ancient Egypt. And he will bring you into Egypt again. But our fathers walked down into ancient Egypt, didn't they? Didn't they walk down into ancient Egypt?
To Jerusalem.
Read on.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Did somebody say that we came here on ships? Is this the land of the captivity? We arrived here on ships. Continue on.
By the way whereof I spoke unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemy.
Wait a minute. It's getting too simple now. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies
for male and female slaves.
Wait a minute. No. And when you get off of the ships, they're going to sell you for male and female slaves. This is sounding familiar now. This is sounding familiar now. No, because now, do you know anyone else that any other nation that were brought into these areas on ships, and when they arrived here, they were sold as male and female slaves? I said, when you find your history, you're going to know it's your history. No doubt about it. Now, we're finding some things that are similar to our history in this Bible that the United Nations use. Well, I just don't think that they read these particular verses. But they used the same book. But now it seems to me like they left some here.
Very selective.
Sold. Did this happen to, does this sound like you all's history?
Absolutely.
Now, I want to go a little bit further. We want to go now to Ezekiel, the 19th chapter, and the 4th verse, and then the 8th and the 9th verse. Ezekiel, the 19th chapter, and the 4th verse, and then the verses 8 and 9. So now we found some people, the people of God, were to be brought back into a captivity on ships and sold as slaves. And sold as slaves. The people of God, the chosen people of God, this was to be their fate, history, and destiny. Something that took place in your history that has been determining your destiny. Ezekiel, read.
Reading from the book of Ezekiel, 19th chapter, we'll start at the 4th verse. The nations also heard of him.
The nations also heard of him.
He was taken in their pit.
He was taken in what?
In their pit.
He was taken in their pits. Did somebody say that we were in the pits on those ships? And he was taken in their pits.
And they brought him with chains unto the land of Egypt.
Wait, if somebody said we came, did somebody say we came in chains? Says, and that we were in pits, and says, and he brought them in chains, shackles. These are the people of God. Did you arrive here in chains? Your forefathers arrived here in chains and shackles? On ships, in pits. Now, the people of God back into Egypt again. This Egypt, the ancient Egypt, you walked down and you didn't have chains on you when you went into captivity in ancient Egypt. This is to distinguish between the Egypts. America is modern Egypt, modern Babylon, Egypt, the land of the captivity of the people of God. Now, you're in the pits, in chains, 8 and 9.
Then the nations set against him on every side from the provinces.
Then the nations set against the people of God on every side. A conspiracy by those that were referred to as the New World Order.
And spread their net over him.
We forgot that one, but did they throw nets over some of them? Did they catch them and throw nets over them? Nets. And they spread their nets over them.
He was taken in their pit.
He was taken in their pits.
And they put him in a cage.
And they put him in what?
In a cage.
Somewhere with limited movement. And they put him in the pits. And they put him in a cage. He was a captive. Birds that are captive are put in cages to limit their movement, to blow their minds, to make them no longer understand that they are birds. When you arrived on these shores, after they treated you like an animal, you forgot that you were a human being. You are still trying to prove to somebody, I am somebody. Who are you talking to? 400 years and you got to convince somebody that you are somebody. Excuse me, you got to convince nobody that you are somebody. You can put an animal in a cage, limit his movement, take him out of his natural habitat, and you make him forget who he is, what he is. And then at a point, you can open the cage. Won't go nowhere. Don't know what to do. And when they finally had what they called the Emancipation Proclamation, then they told you you were free, and many of them didn't even want to be free. You know what to do. Just like now, Brother Coy Pugh said, you are scared to be free. You're not free. You are afraid of freedom. You're afraid. You're scared. You've been caged up for so long. He don't have to worry about you. You're scared of freedom. And he took him, nets over him, put him into cages, areas of limited movement, give you the impression that you were animals. That's why in the Taney decision, they said you were what? 3/5 of a person. You had been caged up so long until even they looked out and they said 3/5 of a person, because they had been treating you like animals for so long. You're scared. You're scared to let it go. It's killing you and you won't let it go. Continue on, please.
And they put him in a cage, in chains.
In chains.
And brought him to the king of Babylon.
And brought him to the king of Babylon. Babylon, Egypt, metaphorically all the same thing. The great whore. This was not the land of your prosperity. This is the land of your captivity. This is your history. Now, the next logical question now, if I took this out of the Bible and I would read these things to you from a book, some other book, you would, if I just read it and asked you, you would say that's whose history? You would say that if I took it out of the Bible and read it to you from some other book, you would say, beyond the shadow of a doubt, you would say that is your history. But what if I leave it in the Bible? Say it again. Still our history. Leave it in the Bible. The United Nations use the Bible. The Bible holds the key, because the next logical question, if God sent us into this captivity, why? That becomes the key question. Why? What did we do to deserve this? Now we find that Howard said, you got to stop now, look back. What did we do? What is it that happened that determined this evil destiny that we've met on the shores of America? What happened in our history? Now you understand why they cannot allow you to get back and understand the significance of your history, because your history is your destiny. And if you're going to change your destiny, you must change and stop and turn around and start to make some event that will give you a new history, that will determine a new destiny. One of my most sacred examples or illustrations that I use, always seem to find somebody's always security usually, but use one of the songs that lives right here. In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve fell. Fell where? Just down on their knees. What took place in the Garden of Eden? When I was a child, my mother used to always say, she said, boy, keep on going. Just keep on going down the road. Things are going to get better a little bit further down the road. My mother didn't know, blessed be her soul, but mama, things can't get better going down the wrong road. She didn't know. She told me the best that she could, but she did not know things can't get better going down the wrong road. So what took place in the Garden of Eden? Adam and Eve were created to face God with continuous, eternal, regenerative, onward and upward motion. Continuously in a regenerative cycle, everything renewing itself eternally, eternal life, because everything would renew itself. But what took place? They fell. Simply this. They came under a new influence. They turned their backs upon God. Now, he may not have moved a long distance, but he has traversed. When he turned his back on God, he has traversed the ultimate distance. The ultimate distance. Now you tell me, when are things going to get better going that way? It is impossible for things to get better going that way. He must meet what? That destiny. He must meet an evil destiny continuously. No argument about it, no controversy. He must meet an eternal evil destiny. Why? Because his history determined. So he move on a little bit. Keep meeting an evil destiny. Because remember, predetermined. Predetermined. And he move a little bit further. Predetermined. Predetermined. Now the only way, because his past is determining his future, the only way he can disconnect himself from his past is what? Got to turn around and then begin a new history. Then his new history begins at this new birth, born again, a new beginning, and then this is going to cause him to meet another destiny. Are you hearing me? You're going to meet a new destiny. Now, the devil studies you. No. Studied the Bible, studied your history. He know who you are. If he didn't know who no other people are, he could not afford not to know who you are. Because where you concerned, he can't afford a mistake. He had to know who you were. So then, if that be the case, then he knows how to control your destiny. He keep you walking. If you're walking this way, then the devil, his objective is to do what? Keep telling you like mama told me. Well, just keep on another few years. Why? Because you are walking in that direction. His objective is to keep you what? Walking in that direction. What make you stop and turn around? You have to change your destiny.
It has been tied
Into your history. Predetermined, historically determined course of events. On that path, historically determined. What's going to meet him, you can tell before it happens.
Now, are you following? Joel, the 3rd chapter, verses 2 and 3. Bear with me. Too much is at stake. Everything is on the line. And I feel like the state representative. Enough is enough. And this can't be the last chapter, Queen Mother. And we're starting to write a new chapter. And we ain't going to let them write the last chapter. We're not going out as crackheads and cocaine heads in jail. We're not going out like that. Oh no. New history. Turn around. Stop. Turn around. Joel, the 3rd chapter. Read, please.
Reading from the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, starting at the 2nd verse. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat.
The valley of judgment. The Creator said he will gather all nations. And what is he going to plead there in the valley of judgment? What is this judgment going to be about? Read.
And will judge them there for my people.
And will judge them there for what?
For my people.
My people. God's people are going to be involved in the determination of when the judgment day is. Continue on.
And for my heritage.
And for my heritage.
Israel. Whom they have scattered among the nations.
Whom have been scattered among the nations. What else?
And parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people.
They have what?
And they have cast lots for my people.
And they have cast lots for my people. That's just like pitching pennies for human beings. And they have cast lots for my people. No value on your lives. Somebody give you 5 pennies and them 5 pennies said, whoever gets the closest, take him. No value on your lives. Cast lots for my people.
And have given a boy for an harlot.
Trade a boy for an harlot. Just a trade. This is the history of a people. The people of God. Trade a boy for a harlot. Well, you got a young son here. I need a young daughter. Here, you take him and give me her. This is exactly how, this is your history.
And sold a girl for wine.
And sold a girl for wine.
That they may drink.
That they may drink. Take a life. This little daughter here. Take this daughter and he want him a keg of wine. And he take this soul and say, here, give me a keg of wine. Show you the value, no value on your lives. This is your history. You bear witness that this happened to you. It happened to you. They traded you for jewelry. They traded you for wine. They traded you for rum. No value on your lives. The people of God. Now, question? Why? How do we correct this? How do we change this? Now that we're back in the Bible, now that we see it, we're being connected up with our history, then it should be relatively easy for you to understand that a significant number of those brought over on slave ships were descendants of the biblical Israelites. The great majority of you sitting here, you are the descendants of the biblical Israelites. You are Israelites, Hebrew Israelites. You sitting right here are the chosen people of God that turned aside from the Creator. Your destiny and the destiny of this civilization depends upon you. The rise of Jacob. This civilization cannot end until Jacob rises. The objective of this civilization is to prevent Jacob from rising. They prolong their dominion by keeping you in darkness. They're not interested in you becoming free. Your captivity is their benefit. Your curse is their blessing. Your demise was their rise. Not interested in freeing you. The objective of this civilization is to keep you a captive, keep you walking contrary to God. Why? Why did it happen? Let me take a couple of references here. Hosea 4 and 6. Hosea 4 and 6. Read, please.
Reading from the 4th chapter, the book of Hosea, 6th verse, and it reads, "My people are destroyed."
That's a very personal statement. The first word, the Creator says, whose people?
My people.
That's very personal. My people are being destroyed,
For a lack of knowledge.
Knowledge. The people of God are being destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. Knowledge about themselves. Knowledge about the Creator. Knowledge about that economic development. Knowledge about this social system. You're being destroyed because you really don't know America. If you knew America, you would not expect to be free in America. You are still here because you don't know America. The state representative has said he now knows America. There will never be freedom for the captives in America. And you continue on this path because of a lack of knowledge. You look up now and you find one of your chief leaders, that saying, I put down the gun and I picked up the Bible. I put down the gun and I picked up the Bible. Now they're watching you because you are the sign. You are the sign that determines when their season has ended. It is all connected to you. But can anything good come out of Nazareth? You just really can't see yourselves as being that significant. Again, you scared. I see why. You trying to convince yourself that you somebody. That you keep going around trying to convince yourself that you are somebody. Because you're scared for somebody to put this kind of responsibility upon you. You're scared. You're scared to be disciplined. You're scared to shop in your stores. You're scared to stay in your hotels because you don't think it'll look right to the system if you start doing things for yourself. You got to change, brothers and sisters. No way to circumvent it. Either you're going to change or you're going to perish. You got to stop and get on that train that Howard talked about. Get on that train now. Get on the other end and start heading back. And you got to go back now. And on the path back, you're going to meet many of those you passed going the wrong way. They're not going to want you to get back. They're going to try to prevent you from getting back. But you, against all odds, you've got to get back and be reconciled with the Creator. It holds the key. Let us go now. Lack of knowledge. Jeremiah 4, 22 and 23. Jeremiah 4, 22 and 23. Got a few more moments. Be patient for about 10 more minutes. I think we'll be able to close out. But you got to understand that
Because if you understand that, you become fishermen. You become hunters. You know how to go out and to get our people out of this mess that they're in. These are the keys. The brother said, to you I give the keys to the new world, to the kingdom. You've got to hear these things and understand it. There are some things that you must do. Somebody has convinced you that you can walk contrary to the laws of God and be saved. There's no way that you can walk contrary to the laws of God and be saved. It was walking contrary to the laws of God that got us in this mess. Now somebody is trying to convince you to continue to walk contrary to God, to the commandments of God, and get out of it. And that's what got us into it. You've got to turn back. Read, please.
Reading from the 4th chapter of the book of Jeremiah, starting at the 22nd verse. And it reads, for my people are foolish.
God, again, that's very personal. His people, he said, are foolish. Foolish. What does that mean? Doing foolish things. Foolish expectations. 400 years and no justice. Foolish. The people of God, my people, are foolish. Continue on.
They have not known me.
What is the problem?
They have not known me.
You see, your history. You have not known your God. You've got all the gods that they've given you. But your God, your history will connect you up with your land, your culture, your language, but most of all, your history will connect you up with your God. That's the key. Your history will connect you up with your God. You hear us saying the God of Israel, the God of our fathers, a God, a special God that created you, the God that sent you on those ships, the God that sold you. Only he can purchase you and redeem you. My people, foolish. They have not known. Why is it that you're helpless? Because you have not known your God, the God of Moses, the God of Noah, the God of Adam, the God of Eve, the God of the creation, the God of the inspired prophets. That was your God. That's the God that sentenced you to these 400 years. And now if you think that you're ready for parole, you got to go before the parole board and tell them what? I'm not going to do it. No. Well, see, I got to. If you're ready for parole, do you go before the parole board?
Yes,
just tell them that you're going to do it again?
Oh no.
Say it again. Not going to get out. God is sitting at the parole board. We want out of jail. We've served 400 years. We want our freedom. Now you've got to convince God, Father, what was it I did? Ain't gonna never do it no more. Ain't gonna never do it no more. After what we've been through, whatever it was that got us into this court, I'm ready to fall out, prostrate on the floor and say, ain't gonna never do it no more. Never do it again. Your salvation depends upon you being reintroduced to your God. And until you are reconciled with your God, you can never get out of this captivity. No other God, save one. No other God can deliver you out of this captivity. You put it to the test for 400 years. No God but one. Bear with me. Raise my voice, see it as an expression of my great love for my God and my people. Do you understand? We mother just want to win. Every time I look at the scorecard, I see lose, lost, enough.
Our God is our help. Your history holds the key. We went back now and connected you up with your history. Now we've got to go briefly to find out, what did you do? What did you do to deserve this, to be sentenced to this captivity? You are the seed of Abraham. Hebrew Americans. Hebrews are from Israel. Hebrews turned aside from the God of Israel. Your history. Much is at stake. Continue on with that.
They are stupid children.
Wait a minute, not the people of God. Wait a minute, the people of God are what?
Stupid children.
How we feel. Can you imagine how the Creator feels looking down upon His people and having to say they are stupid? But I want that to trouble you. You got to afflict your souls to be reconciled. You got to understand how the Creator feels looking down upon His people that He chose, and they are stupid fools. Consider the pain. The people of God crawling upon their knees, being fed out of hog troughs, being fed garbage. That's our history. The people of God being called 3/5 of a people, of a human. You gotta feel the pain that the Creator, that He was talking about His people. In the beginning He said, my people are stupid. Not my words. Stupid. The God that made you and chose you. Look down and see your lifestyles. Look down and see your ambitions, your morality, your values, your objectives, your visions. And He said, are stupid people. Continue on.
And they have no understanding.
Wait a minute, gotta have a little. The people of God, Queen Mother, you feel the pain of the God of creation looking down upon His chosen people and saying they are stupid, foolish, no understanding. I said if you understood America, you would be trying with all of your heart, soul, and might to get out of here. When I'm saying get out of here, I don't mean everybody packing up tomorrow and leaving, but there is a process. You've got to turn around and get on that other end. I think that Brother Salvo said you can't get to the end once you get into the camp, but you can't get to the end if you don't never get into the camp. At one point you got to get out and at least go and start looking in the other direction. Let her go. Let this whore go. And once you let her go, we may not get every place in the future right away, but at least at this point, let us start planning another future for our children, for ourselves. What else? Say anything else bad?
They are wise to do evil.
Wait a minute. They're educated. They are what?
Wise to do evil.
Degenerative knowledge. Degenerative knowledge. They are wise to do evil. Say it again. Sophisticated. Wise to do evil. All kind of certificates. Say it again. Intellectually insane. All kind of certificates. Wise to do evil.
But to do good.
But, see on that path, wise to do evil, but to do good.
But to do good they have no knowledge.
Wait a minute. But to do good they have no knowledge. But to do good they have no knowledge. But evil, they're well equipped. Remember in the beginning I said 2 forces, 2 higher education, 2 forms of education. One will make you do good and one will make you do evil. Well educated in evil. Wouldn't seem that education could make you ignorant, would it? Wise to do evil. You know, the little children get up on the stage with their pants on backwards, get up on the stage and entertain you. Can you imagine the people of God clapping and being entertained by some children with their pants on backwards? Wise to do evil. And then somebody get on stage singing some positive music and then, I don't want to hear none of that stuff, man. Wise to do evil. You're going by all of that musical junk. But why don't you have entertainers giving you positive music? Because you won't buy it. Because you are wise. You are a supporter of evil. They can depend upon you. But to support that which is right, you're having all kind of problems trying to get them to support themselves. They don't even know that that's right. I mean, they don't have no idea that that's what they're supposed to do. Think it's funny. Don't understand that that's that pathway. All the things that we need, we could get them because all of this is part of the redemptive process. I said today on this stage, your redemptive struggle changed. It received a new birth. Everything has changed. All of your leaders now, they've got to deal with that issue. Our struggle has God at its center. Whatever your faith, reveal it. Talk about it. Because the devil is also talking about God. Now, we'll see can we find a couple of verses, find out a little information as to why this happened. Let us go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, 1 through 3. Maybe we can find out why he will never be receptive of you being connected back up with your history. Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, verses 1 through 3. Read, please.
Reading from the book of Deuteronomy, 30th chapter, verses 1 through 3. Reads on this wise. And it shall come to pass.
And it shall come to pass. Now listen to this.
When all these things are come upon thee.
And all of these things have come upon thee.
The blessing and the curse.
The blessing and the curses.
Which I have set before thee. And thou shalt call them to mind.
And thou shalt call them to mind.
Among all the nations.
Wait a minute. Where?
Among all the nations.
Where you were scattered. He said it's something that you would have to call to mind. But if you cannot be connected with your history, you don't know what to call to mind. You don't know the source of the problem. Call to mind.
To which the Lord thy God hath driven thee.
Great. Read that again. You shall call to mind.
And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations.
Among all of the nations.
To which the Lord thy God hath driven thee.
Among all the nations where Yah has driven you. So he's talking directly to you. Something that you've got to call to mind. Call to mind. Something that took place in your history that you've got to call to mind. Continue on.
And shalt return unto the Lord thy God.
Wait a minute.
And shall what?
And shalt return unto the Lord thy God.
Call it to mind and then stop and return to the Lord thy God. Stop and return. Call it to mind. Call it to mind and return and be reconciled with the Lord thy God. Watch what's going to take place here. In these 3 verses, we're going to find out how to change our destiny, and we're also going to change his. Watch this. Read.
And shalt obey his voice.
And shall obey his voice. How can we not deal with the God issue if obeying his voice holds the key? What is obeying the voice of God? These are some questions now. And obey his voice. Stop, turn around, call it to mind, and obey his voice. Continue on.
According to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children.
Thou and thy children begin to teach, influence, guide your children back unto the Creator. Take them out of the hands of this system.
With all thine heart.
With all of thy heart.
And with all thy soul.
And with all of thy soul.
That then the Lord thy God shall turn.
Wait a minute. If you do that, you follow me up to this point? Now here's the key now. You among the nations. Call it to mind. Stop and obey his voice. Watch what happens. Read.
That then the Lord thy God.
The Lord thy God will do what?
Will turn thy captivity.
Wait a minute. Ain't that what you've been trying to find out how to accomplish? Haven't you been trying to find out how to turn this captivity? You see why they don't want you to know your history? You see why when you reach the shores of Africa, you just become an African? Don't want you. The New Testament was written. And then one of the cornerstones of Eurocentric theological institutions became the Old Testament has been fulfilled. No longer needed. No longer needed in your redemptive struggle. All that the Lord came, and all that's been fulfilled. Now this is one of the cornerstones of Eurocentric theological institutions. The Old Testament has been fulfilled. A very significant prophetic event has taken place in this last month. And it is still taking place, unfolding at this present moment. And except that someone was teaching you the prophecies, you don't know where you are in the cycles of prophetic time. You don't know, again, if you don't know when you're winning, you don't know when you're losing. You don't know that you must measure time according to the words of the prophets. Peace is not going to come on this planet by the words of politicians. Peace will only come to the human family by the words of the inspired prophets of Israel. No other way. Just hold it there. Share this little article with you. One paragraph. Now remember, the mother church, and again I'm using these tenets without malice, but I must use it because this article is going to refer to it, and I must go back historically and to relate to this. The mother church, out of which all of the Protestant religions were born, denominations were born, is the Catholic Church. I mean, this is the mother. Now, watch this. Now, one of the cornerstones is that the Old Testament has been fulfilled, no longer needed for redemption. Is that correct? All of us have been in the church. We know that. They see the Bible in redemption from Matthew to Revelation. But now watch this. Read.
John Paul II adds support for theory of evolution.
Listen to this now, a very significant prophetic event. John Paul II gives support to the theory of evolution. Evolution. Watch this, read.
Coming out of Rome. nearly a century and a half after Darwin's Origin of Species,
After Darwin's Origin of Species,
Pope John Paul II
Pope John Paul II
has put the teaching authority
has put the teaching authority
of the Roman Catholic Church
of the Roman Catholic Church
firmly behind the view that the human body may not have been the immediate creation of God.
Evolution. Now, the question is, if none of those of that faith need the Old Testament, what is the Pope doing back in the Genesis? What is the significance? All the Catholics, they have already been convinced that you don't need the Genesis for salvation. What is the Pope doing in the Genesis? Why is the Pope trying to discredit the creative process? Why is the Pope trying to discredit the book of Genesis? Time magazine, 3 weeks ago on the cover, and God said, dealing with Genesis, all of his scholars, he has summoned his soothsayers, prognosticators, moon gazers, all of them, and he has turned their attention to the Genesis. Why? I mean, he's not in the Genesis. He's not going to meet any Catholics in the Genesis. He's not going to meet any Lutherans in the Genesis. Who is it that he's meeting in the Genesis? Why? What took place? Pope, there's a television series on right now. 8 parts, I think. 8 parts. Again, moving to discredit Genesis. The Genesis is critical in your redemptive struggle. That's what it is. The Genesis. Who is it that he is meeting in the Genesis? We have gotten back to the Genesis. We are interpreting. We are defining. We are now relating to our people the creative process. The Pope is meeting the sons of light in the Genesis because the Genesis is critical for your redemption. You cannot be redeemed if he succeeds in discrediting the Genesis. Why? Why wouldn't he meet us in Ezekiel or Isaiah or Jeremiah? No. He went back to the foundation. All of the big numbers, millions, billions, trillions, all of those big numbers were born out of the little bitty one. The little bitty one. And if the little bitty one disappears, all of those big numbers no longer exist. So at all costs, you've got to protect one. The Genesis. Why didn't he meet us in Isaiah, Ezekiel, or Jeremiah? No. Because if he get us in the Genesis, all the others will die. He went back to the foundation. Now, he didn't start chipping up on the roof trying to tear the house down. He went to the foundation, He's beating on the foundation. And if the Pope would succeed in discrediting the Genesis, you could never receive your redemption. The Genesis holds the key to your redemption. He met us in the Genesis. Who else would you think that the Pope of Rome would be meeting in the Genesis? Why is it necessary? He already has discouraged Catholics from going back and relating to that. Why was it necessary? Because they were watching you. I and the sons whom thou hast given me are for signs and wonders in Israel from the God of Israel that dwelleth in Zion. You watching the newspapers and they're watching you. You hold the key. They saw us in the Genesis. When the sons of God came before the Creator, the devil was watching the sons of God, and the devil came right with them to see what God was telling them, how he would instruct them so that he would know how to hinder them. He's watching you. Now, putting all this power behind evolution to discredit Genesis, he said, and then I will turn thy captivity. Continue on. Now we're going to find out that's our destiny, changing our destiny. But watch this. Continue on.
That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity.
That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity.
And have compassion upon thee.
And have what?
Compassion upon thee.
Now God knows we need compassion. And have compassion upon us. If we turn back and begin to obey his voice, he will have compassion upon us. And what else?
And will return and gather thee.
And will return and gather thee.
From all the nations where the Lord thy God hath scattered.
He will gather you from all of the nations where he has scattered you. What else?
And if any of thine be driven out to the outermost parts of heaven, from there will the Lord thy God gather thee.
Wherever you may be.
And from there will he fetch thee.
Continue on.
And the Lord thy God will bring thee.
Watch this. And the Lord thy God will bring thee
into the land which thy fathers possessed.
But if you don't know what land you used to possess. Where they going? He said he will bring you into the land that your fathers possessed.
And thou shalt possess it.
And thou shalt possess it.
And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers.
And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers.
And the Lord thy God will circumcise thine heart. And the heart of thy seed to love the Lord thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And the Lord thy God will put all these curses.
Watch another destiny now. Remember I said our destiny. Now you see the first verse is our destiny change. But watch something else. And the Lord thy God will what?
And the Lord thy God will put all these curses.
And he will put all of these curses where?
Upon thine enemies.
Now you see why? You see why he can't let you, why he had to disconnect you and cut you off from your history. Your history can change your destiny and his.
Yeah.
You see why your history is different? What did those verses just do? It reversed your history, your destiny, and you see how it affected his too? It affected his too. So his objective has to continue to keep you walking contrary, because this can only happen when you stop, turn around, and obey the voice of the Lord thy God. There's no other way that it can happen. And subsequently, you continue to prolong his civilization. You hold the key. That's why they had to cut you off from your history, because history is destiny. Your history is your destiny and the destiny of this civilization. You hold the keys. Now, if nothing else, why can't we try it? You've tried Marx. You've tried Lenin. You've tried Mao. You've tried socialism. You've tried communism. You've tried democracy. You've tried Republicans. You've tried Democrats. You've tried everything. Why is it that you won't try your God? I can say it in the absolute. We can turn this around. Your history holds the key. You transgress the laws of God. His objective is to continue to cause you to walk contrary to God. You've been so patient, so attentive, and so inspiring. And I know that I overstayed my time by a little bit, but it was only because that we're just in some very critical days. And we just had to touch upon these things so that you can understand that now you've got to get back and begin teaching your children their history. You've got to get back now and search your history. You've got to find out who you are as a people, although you don't have to find it. I'm telling you that you are Hebrew Americans. Hebrew Americans, you originated in the land of Israel. Moses and the prophets, those individuals were born from your loins. You've got to go back to the commandments of God. You've got to stop and turn around and face your God again and let the gods of these nations go. I do pray some of you somewhere have touched some little sensitive organ, molecule, something in your soul. I'm so thankful, but I won't prolong this day anymore. But I just pray that now I put that little spin on it, and we put history into a different context. Because you get history of George Washington, all of those things in school, but it's superficial. Your history is not like that kind of history. Because your history is your destiny.
Hallelujah! 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 I want you just to be seated for about 5 more minutes. There's 2 things we got to do. You know, we always close out in prayer. We always close out in prayer. Please be seated. And because of this great work, you know,